G'day, Simon. Welcome back to South OC Cars and Coffee. Hey, no James, unfortunately, this morning. He's under the weather. So it's up to me to give you a tour. I'll do my best with those supercars, but I'm certainly not going to know as much about them as he does. Speaking of which, some great stuff this morning. We've got a 918 Porsche, we've got a Pista, a whole lot of cool stuff, some classics as well, and a hot rod that I saw, 32 I think it was, looking like a steel body, really, really cool. Hey, don't forget, if you come to South OC Cars and Coffee, please remember, respect our rules, no speeding, no revenue, no burnouts. That includes on the streets of San Clemente and getting on and off those freeways. There is a ton to see. Let's go for a walk and check some stuff out. You know, generally each week we start off with my Camaros in the front row. This is the first car that we see. And we don't normally stop and talk about it, but Adam, one of our volunteers who also owns a Gen 5 Camaro, said to me, hey, can you talk a little bit about what's been done to your Camaro? So I've owned it since it was brand new in 2010. It's actually a 2011 2SS RS Camaro, and it's still got the original LS3 block, but it's been rebuilt by the guys at Pulfarf Racing Engines in there. Those guys have been building racing engines for, well, near on 50 years. And the guy, Gordy Jennings, who built the motor, was US K-Boat champion 7 times running. So there's nothing really original in this motor. It's running male 10-to-1 forged pistons, Manly H-beam rods. It's got ARP fasteners from top to bottom, Felpro gaskets. It's got a custom grind comp cams camshaft in it, and then it's got comp cams, push rods, lifters, and valve springs. It's running a double chain GM Performance 3-bolt sprocket and heavy duty dampener. It's got a Melling high volume oil pump and then a Lingenfelder LS adapter oil bypass because it's running an oil cooler at the front as well. It's running a Nick Williams 102 boosted throttle body, and then on the top it's got a Whipple 2.9 litre supercharger with a 3.375 pulley on it, which gives it 15 pounds of boost. 8 rib pulley, and then it's down there you'll see a Innovators West 10% overdrive balancer. It's running a 4 Innovations fuel system, including that fuel regulator over there. What else can I tell you about it? It's got a Mantic 9000 series twin plate clutch, XS Performance long tube headers, and then a custom built baller exhaust with hookup electronic bypass as well. It's got a Hurst billet Competition Plus shifter, and then it's running under here bare rated speeds, cross drilled and slotted rotors, and then the Brembo brake calipers as well. I've thrown a couple of gauges on the hood up here. We've got up here on this side is the air fuel ratio, and this side is vacuum boost. Anderson Composites hood, and then carbon down here, and then carbon front splitter as well. I didn't mention as well, it's got a cold air induction intake, and then there's an ADM race scoop which forces air up under the front there. So we've got the gauges there. Under here, we've got the guys from Carbon Tastic hooked us up with great carbon steering wheel. There's that Hurst shifter in there. The rest of this is all original, that orange interior, all of this orange here. This was actually a GM option as well. Anderson Composites factory option in there, that twin sub that's in there, MTX, actually got that with the car. On the back, we're running Forge Star bead locks with Mickey Thompson GT Street drag radials on the back. And then up the front, we're also running these Forge Stars as well with some Firestones up there as well, Indy 500s. The car is 1,020 horsepower at the crank, about 900 foot-pounds. So there it is, my Camaro. That's for you, Adam. Keeping good company here. Porsche 918, this is a regular at the show, and this was Porsche's answer to the hypercar that came out the same time McLaren brought out the P1, of course, and Ferrari, they love Ferrari. And if you watch Top Gear, it took them a while to get 3 of them on the track next to each other, but it was the 918 that was winning the drag race because, of course, this thing is actually all-wheel drive as well. So we've got front and rear drive, being the fact that it's a hybrid. But this was Porsche's replacement for the Carrera GT, which I still think is one of the most amazing cars. The one thing I like about Porsche is they keep the integrity of their designs. You could park a Carrera GT next to this and you can tell that this is the later model of a car that's obviously the same lineage. Absolutely beautiful car. Always love seeing it here. Absolutely wonderful. Next to it we have beautiful Ferrari. This is a Pista. I think these cars are timeless. They're one of my favourite Ferraris. For me, in this generation of Ferrari, 458 Speciale is definitely my favourite, and then followed by the Pista. It was such a fast car. Next to it, 296. This is such a quick car as well. We've gone from a twin turbo V8 in this to a twin turbo V6 that's also hybrid in the 296, and it's apparently an incredibly quick car. One of my friends had one. But for me, if I had the choice between a Pista and a 296, I know what I'd take. What would you take? Comment down below. Man, such a great spec on this 992 GT3 RS. Apart from the fact this green is beautiful with the carbon fibre, love the gold wheels on it. As we come around, I hope you can see that interior because those seats just look so good. And then you can see that the vents in the actual headrest have been ordered in the same green as the body, and then it's got green stitching in there as well. Tons of carbon fibre through there. Just a beautiful, beautiful car. That aggressive wing on the GT3 RS, which just looks amazing. This is a wonderful spec. The green just suits us so well. In fact, it's, you know, I gotta say we've had quite a few of the 992 GT3 RSs here over the last few weeks. We've had a bright red one, we've had silver ones, we've had black ones. Every time I look at one, I think, man, that couldn't get any better. And they just all look good. There's something about the design of this car that seems to look good in absolutely every color. I was walking up to this and the gentleman had heard me over here, had heard me talking about the green one before. And he said, might be better than the green one. You know, I kind of feel that way too. As I said, these cars look great in every color. The red just makes this thing pop. It's all the contrasting black that they've done on it that really makes, I think, every color look great. I think the only color, for me personally, that may not do this car as much justice is black, because it wouldn't contrast as well with all the carbon and the other accessories on it, but such a beautiful car. And yet another 992 GT3 RS. This time in silver, but it's obviously got a satin PPF wrap over it. So we've shown the silver one, we've shown the green one, we've shown the red one. Which one would you pick? Comment down below. Busy overflow lot again. We've got rows of Porsche, FRS, you name it, little Honda S2000. One of the Thunderbirds from a few years ago. So think about that trend of auto manufacturers to go sort of into the retro look. You had the Gen 5 Camaro which came out, you had the Mustangs going back towards that look, you had the Dodge coming out with the Challenger, which I still think is a great looking car. I think all of those cars are good. Then you had this, the Thunderbird, and it's kind of fell in a weird place for me. I put this in the same category, and the fans of this are going to hate me, but things like the PC Cruiser or that the Chevy SSR, it was a great thought, but it kind of missed the mark and ended up, in my opinion, very old man. Ton of bites again this morning. Let's check some of them out.
Thank God that the brothers on the rise now. Endless celebrations all in my house. Levitating now, I'm super duper fly now.
Saw this Bronco coming earlier. There's a bit of serious stuff going on with this. The telltale for me was when I first saw up on the dash. That kind of looks like it might be a little serious up there. Not sure what that is, but serious suspension underneath. And then pipes hanging out the side. And look up underneath here, the suspension under here. Don't you think the car chase down the 405 would have been a lot more interesting if O.J. Simpson was driving this? I was just talking to the owner of this Plymouth over here, and I saw the 225 and asked him whether they had the 225 slant motor, and he said it did originally. He blew two of them up, so he got rid of it. It's actually now got, believe it or not, an LS transplant. So that means it could be as much horsepower as you want, because obviously an LS, you can do anything you want from it, from throwing a massive turbo on it to throwing a supercharger, or you can even give it a couple of hundred shot of nitrous and it will just go. This thing's kind of cool because it looks like a barn find. I mean, the patina on it looks good. He's actually gone through a couple of colours, but then he's cleared over the top of it as well. So, interesting. So, it's got a CF 5-speed gearbox in there, so I'm guessing it's probably running a Tremec or something similar, but kind of cool, huh?
Flow like water, so I'm going mainstream.
It's always great to have the guys from Superperformance here, of course, sponsors the show. Superperformance, normally known, of course, their clothes have a lot of gear all the time, but this is something else car. So an amazing chassis built on the car, but available with a sort of traditional style engine, like a modern recreation of that 377 with side draft Webers. But there's also 7 other different engine derivatives you can get. You can get it with a 350, one of the ZZ motors, or in this case it's got a supercharged LT4, or you can get it with, for example, the LS9 as well. So this is an amazing car that's as I said, look at the engineering under this thing. So this LT4 is what you would find, for example, in the last of the Camaros, and also the C7 Corvettes as well. Just amazing on every angle. I mean, it's designed to be super comfortable. You know, it's got carpet, it's got modern instrumentation, but it looks like something that's, you know, basically from the past. Look at this. I'm guessing this is a transmission cooler back up in the back under here, but such a great looking car. So super performance. Cobras, of course, the Daytona as well is something that they're known for. They do beautiful Daytonas, but don't forget that they also have this GM product, this amazing Corvette Grand Sport. I absolutely love this. Great looking 1929 Ford pickup for sale here. Interesting motor choice. Look at this. It's got an Oldsmobile Rocket there, and it's running a Holly Sniper. So in other words, it's got fuel injection but can bolt straight on the top of that manifold. But interesting to put that in a Ford. Beautiful colour, this green, and it's got the black roof on it. And really nice looking interior. The fabric in it looks like it could have been period correct. Interesting looking gauges. There's the controller for the Holly Sniper there. So basically you got fuel injection. All you need to do is you weld in a bung with an O2 sensor into the exhaust, and you've got the ability of using a fuel injection in the form factor of a carburetor. Great looking wheels on it, the wire wheels, really nice finish if you can see the paint. But I love the way they've bolted this rear window in here as well, which is kind of cool. It's a super neat looking thing. All the details through here. Jag rear end under there. So interesting thing about a Jag rear end, I'm going to crawl under my hands and knees so you can see it. So one of the things that Jaguar did when they developed this rear end, normally on most vehicles you would see the brakes sitting out either side. So back in the early days it'd of course be drum brakes, and later you'd have disc brakes. Well, what Jaguar did is they brought the discs on the inside, right next to the inside of the diff. So you can see there's a disc there and a brake disc there. And then you've got a universal joint over here and another universal joint in the corner. Now that did a couple of things. First of all, it meant that the car had an independent rear end. So it wasn't a solid axle that if one wheel hit a bump, it affected the other side. The other reason they did it is it brought the unsprung weight. In other words, the spinning of that disc came towards the center of the car, which improved the dynamics of the car. So a lot of guys with hot rods in the day used to use these Jaguar rear ends. They really were ahead of their time. Great little Datsun 2000 here. I sort of walked around and thought, got to go back and revisit it. So I looked at this motor and thought it might have been a newer motor, but I was speaking to the owner who's standing over here, and he tells me this was in fact the original motor that came with it, but he upgraded it to the performance pack, which had a slightly higher lift camshaft, and then also went from the SU carburetors to, in this case, it's got side drafts on there. An interesting carb as well. Mikuni, they're not a Solex or a Weber that we're used to seeing. It's obviously a Japanese built side draft as well. This is a really neat little car, beautiful colour, does it well, and I love the combination of this colour with this red interior. It just looks absolutely wonderful. Nicely padded dashboard, handbrake with the same leather but black on the shifter. It's a really good little car, nice build. He said not very long ago it was in 2,000 pieces, and boy, it's come together really well. Somebody's done a great job of restoring this little Trabant. This is, how do we pronounce it? Trabant? Trabant, yeah. And this is your car, sir? It's very, very cool. Did you restore it? Did you buy it like this?
No, I purchased it sort of like this. I've done a few things to it.
It's a great little car, made in East Germany, you were just saying. And they were the people's car. That's what everybody drove, right?
Well, they had a choice of this or Wartburg, which was a lot more expensive. The police used it, and some higher up officials.
Yeah, and there on the other side of the wall they had Porsche and BMW. Life was not fair in East Germany, right? But a great little car, great little cult following. You can see wonderful interior in this thing as well. There's a guy called Stephen who comes here who's got a couple of these Just a fun little car, you know, something that gets a lot of looks. You know what I love? The owner is letting all these people get in the car and enjoy it as well. That is a great way to get people interested in all types of cars. I nearly walked past this just as another C8, but this, in fact, if you look down here, I notice is actually the E-Ray, which is the hybrid version of the C8. So it's a combined 655 horsepower. It's all-wheel drive because it has those electric motors in the front, and actually does 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds. So it's a quick car. There's so many interesting derivatives of the C8 that are coming out. Me personally, I don't know that I would want the hybrid version, but let's be fair. Look at what's happened with Lamborghini. Look what's happened with Ferrari with something like the 296. Look what has happened with the McLaren with something like the Acura. All of these manufacturers are going for hybrid power plants. The thing I like about this, though, is it has stayed with a V8 combined with those electric motors to give it this performance. So, interesting car. Somebody obviously loves it. It's just great to see one in the flesh. All right, a couple of tough Chevys to talk about here. First of all, the Chevelle. This thing looks super cool, running a big block with an Edelbrock tunnel ram on it. This is an old school look. Couple of Edelbrock ball barrels on top, MSD ignition over here. Super tough looking car. We'll come to the back wheels in just a minute, but running a B&M shifter in there. Looks like Autometer Pro Comp gauges. Big rubber down the back. Mickey Tolson Street SS under there. Super tough. Now over to this 68 Camaro. This is one of my favorite cars that I've seen at the show. We look at this and it's you go, yeah, it's a nice looking car. Then you come down, have a look at the size of the rubber under the wheel arches of this thing. This is obviously tubbed or mini tubbed to fit that amount of rubber under the back there. Super tough looking car. Come up and it's houndstooth interior, which looks great. It's pretty stock instrumentation, but there, look at the shifter that's in there. Very, very serious. Running a old school gauge on the hood, which is, you know, what I do as well with my Camaro, as I showed earlier. Then under here, nice looking old school big block. This is pretty cool. Still running what looks like a carb under there. It's not running fuel injection or anything, but pretty cool that this thing is just looks like an old school Pro Comp car, which skinny's on the front down there. Look at that. Very, very nice. Sitting behind the wheel of this car is Jim, a many-time Car of the Week winner. This is one of his many, again, Jawa Jupiters. He's got a green one, he's got a red one, he's got this white one. And the interesting thing about this car, they were initially designed before World War II, and they have a boxer engine. So like you saw in Porsche and obviously later on Subaru. But interestingly, Jim was just telling me that Porsche actually worked for Jupiter before the World War, and they think that's where he got the idea to do these boxer engines. But this car just won a Concours class at a car show for British cars, and have a look at this. I mean, it's just absolutely beautiful, that wood grain dash. The whole front end lifts on this, and the interesting thing is the actual radiator sits behind the engines. Quite an interesting design. So Jawa Jupiter 1952, great car, great nostalgia. And a great owner as well. Jim's got so many great cars.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Come in.
This Mini is one of those cases of not always what they seem. When the owner of this pulled in, he actually purged some nitrous oxide from underneath. There's a little purge chute there. Quick release steering wheel. This is obviously a quick little car. Had a ton of work done on it. Nice wheels. Cage there in the back. Serious racing seats in there. You can see how the steering wheel's been taken off. This is pretty cool. And then I'm looking for the bottle. There it is. Two of the bottles in there. Nitrous oxide in there between the two. So I'm sure this guy gives a few of the V8s on the road a little bit of a scare when they get a Mini that blows their doors off, which I have no doubt in my mind that this would scare a few people.
just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't
This is nice, isn't it? 1966 Charger. This body shape didn't stick around for long, but it was so cool. I mean, look at this fastback, how massive this is. And then the back end, the way all the tail lights were integrated into the back. Just a wonderful car. They came in so many different derivatives. So just so many cool things about it. When I first came to the States, I hadn't seen one of these before and was actually quite spellbound by the physical size of this thing. Beautiful car.
we're gonna let it babe tonight.
1965 Land Cruiser here, super early. One of the ways you can tell they're actually early is, see these round indicators on the front? This is what they had sort of in the real early days. Then they went to an elongated one, then they went to a larger square one. But this is very early Land Cruiser. And the other difference between this and the later ones, it was actually a 3-speed on the floor, not a 4-speed on the floor. So the shifter, very simple, but just a great thing that didn't change. I mean, one of the other reasons you sell is early. See the fins in this? This wasn't done on the later ones. And even the roof seems a little higher as well. But one of the classic Land Cruiser of this FJ series is, see the foot vent here? So if you're like me, and I learned to drive in one of these things when I was about 7 years old. My dad had one. I was driving by myself actually when I was 7. But you'd be driving along a gravel road or out in the middle of a paddock somewhere, and you'd be hot, so you'd kick the vent open and all the dirt that had accumulated on the floor blew up in your face. So it was always a case of, if you're going to kick your vent open, you'd warn the people in the car with you, close your eyes for a second. So really interesting, 1965 Land Cruiser, great to see. Super clean BMW here, absolutely love it. First of all, HRE stand out, but look at the carbon fibre underneath here, looks absolutely brilliant. And then the addition of just parts and pieces, the turbo, things that just makes this car look really neat. More carbon up through here. Just a wonderfully done car. Sports seats, carbon fibre in the interior as well. Carbon fibre rear wing on it as well. So this and down underneath as well. M4 competition, but it had a ton of work done to it. Just really nicely done. Great seeing somebody take a new car and put all the effort into it like this. Just little things like the fasteners through here that you can see that they've done, and this the caps that are through here. So very nice.
I'm finally facing it all, fearless.
Saw this little Porsche roll in. It is beautiful. The colour's lovely in that navy blue, but also the BBS wheels on it look great as well. That's a pretty little car you've got there, sir. Really wonderful. There's something, little Carrera too. There's something about these 911s, still in the air-cooled era, that makes them really special. And they just are aging so well. Really wonderful to see.
Exaggerated, that's what you assume.
This 1966 Ford Fairlane is not your average Ford Fairlane. This is in fact a GT, which means there's a 427 side oiler engine in this thing. This one's been straight to 483. It's got Edelbrock, custom large valve aluminum heads, water pump, tunnel ram, intake, all of this great stuff inside of this thing. It's got a scat crank in there, 10-to-1 diamond piston. So somebody's done a ton of work to this thing, but it just looks so cool with that finish on the air cleaners, and even that interior, which looks so original, old school race car. Even the seat belts look like those old school race car. Steel wheels. That's a very cool old car. Well, that is it for another week at South OC Cars and Coffee. Thank you so much for watching some great cars this morning, and bikes as well. I want to do a big shout out to all of our sponsors, to the Bracketeer, Wear Marketing, Mazda, Maguire's, iAccident Lawyers, Coldwell Banker Realty, Next Level Auto Protection, Sierra Ineos Grenadier, Go Mobile Tyres, Hillbank Motor Corporation, Magnaflow and Camberg, Mountain View Adventure Vehicles, Josh the Auto Buyer, Happy Jewelers and Carbontastic. And I want to do a massive thank you to all of our volunteers. We could not do the show without them. If you want to become a volunteer, please hit us up on our Instagram page, South OC Cars and Coffee Merch. That's where we handle all of our volunteer rosters, and while you're over there, check out all of our merchandise, our crew necks, our hats, our hoodies, you name it. on the merch page. If you become a volunteer, you get to bring your car in early, and Ruby's hooked you up with a free coffee and donut as well. A big thank you to Ruby's for doing that and also feeding the masses, and a big thank you to the Outlets of San Clemente for allowing us to be here. We could not do the show without them, so please, if you want to go to the movies, shopping, grab a coffee, whatever, come to the Outlets. Tell them South OC Cars and Coffee sent you. Well, that is it. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, follow, comment and subscribe. We'll see you back here again for another South OC Cars and Coffee.